Hello there, Battle Brothers, and welcome to yet another video, and welcome to yet another review video. Well, rather, a re-review video, because I have just finished rereading the first installment of the Eisenhorn Trilogy, or Quadrilogy, if we count in Magos, for the second time. It was, actually, the first Warhammer 40,000 book I read about a year and a half ago, when I got into this brilliant universe, and I have been hooked since. Really, I have only read a couple of non-Warhammer books since then, and when the year and a half passed, I thought to myself, it is high time to reread it. Do you know why? Because now that I have amassed a considerable amount of information about the universe, and I am much more versed in it than I was a year and a half ago, I think something tells me that I will have a little bit of a better experience, and that I will get a lot of things. And that has been proved right and correct, and it is one of my recommendations for everybody who is getting into a certain hobby or a subject matter. You start with something, you like it, you continue. And Eisenhorn is definitely a book to start if you want to get into Warhammer 40,000. There are multiple ways to start, of course, depending on what you like or what you manage to get. But definitely, if you start with something, you don't know anything about it at first, right? You just know that, oh, Warhammer, there are Space Marines and an Emperor, right? And that's all you know. And then you start discovering and you discover more. And so when you amass the amount of information that I have, for example, and you of course do it through more than Eisenhorn, you do it through the more than 50 novels that I read, but you forget about those things that happened there, and at the time you read it for the first time, you absolutely can't get everything. There are many references here that I couldn't possibly get a year ago. And now I did. And the experience was made even better, and I do appreciate now, comparing it, for example, to Horus Heresy books that I read, or other books, not even Horus Heresy, but let's say compare it to books written from the point of view of the Astartes, for example, right, or the Mechanicum, or the Custodes. It's different because it is presented from a point of view of humans, of like the Astartes are also humans, but you know what I mean, more or less ordinary humans. Although Eisenhorn isn't really an ordinary man. He's one of the most famous inquisitors with a very interesting life story. That much I can remember, but I will get there in the reviews to come. And he is, among other things, also gifted psychically, so to speak, to a certain extent. I mean, he's not a psychic, like, per se, of the type of the Astartes librarians. But it is interesting to see the Warhammer 40,000 universe through the eyes of an ordinary man. As opposed to when you read Horus Heresy, for example, you read the books through the eyes of the Primarchs or some of the Astartes of the 31st millennium. And it's very much different. Also, the world is very much different. 10,000 years have passed, and the events of Horus Heresy are legends and myths at this point. People are referring to Rogel Dawn. People are referring to Horus. People are referring to the Emperor as if they were, oh, well, the Emperor is a little bit of a different matter, you know, like they know he is still out there sitting on the throne of Terra, protecting them all. But they refer to these other characters as if they were parts of legends. But it is also very much connected with it through, let's say, the Chaos Marines. And the Emperor's children appear in this book, and I had no bloody idea who the Emperor's Children Legion was at the time when I started reading this. Well, now I obviously do. But putting that aside, the fact that you know the law and the universe, blah, blah, blah. The writing of Dan Abnett, man, listen. I have said on multiple occasions that this man is my favorite active living author right now. Of course, you know, I am a man who loves the most dead authors and works of art that have no known author, like Beowulf, Old English literature in general, things like that. But considering authors that are living and working at the moment today, Dan Abnett's absolutely one of them, probably my favorite. His skill at writing on multiple levels, and his skills at narrating, which is not straightforward at all. I mean, he sets something up and it pays off like at the end of the third volume. And of course, this is Warhammer 40,000, deals with warp and chaos and things like that. So even the time and the timelines aren't always completely linear, which is absolutely normal. And he still manages to manage it all. But despite that he doesn't just write in a boring linear way, he writes in an engaging way. Which means that, I mean, some people, for example, some people don't like The Lord of the Rings or The Silmarillion because they think or they say that it's too hard of a read, right? I mean, everybody's taste is different, everybody's point of view is very subjective. We are talking about art, after all. But in my opinion, The Lord of the Rings nor Silmarillion, really, they aren't that hard to read. But I can see that some people might think so. There's a very old books from a very clever man, a linguist, written in a very flowery language. Dan Abnett's writing, of course, can't be compared because they are two different authors, two different genres, absolutely. But let's compare the writing styles. This is much more friendly read for people, for more people. Let's just say it's a book that you can read in a couple of days, right? And if I didn't have a million, billion, gazillion other things to do, I mean, I've read this book in 5 days, the first volume. If I didn't have million, billion, gazillion things to do, I would have read it in like 2 days. But once again, I mean, I can't wait to get into the next installments. The good thing about this omnibus is that not only does it contain the Xenos, Malleus, Hereticus, and Magos, which are the 4 novels. The Magos is really, yes, Eisenhorn is there, but he's not the main character. He's not the protagonist, but we will get there. But it also contains 4 short stories that I will review separately. And because I need to make some reviews in advance, I'm leaving for vacation / business trip / conference tomorrow. So I'll be gone for 3 days. So I think I'll pre-record some review videos so they can be released on those days. Once again, absolutely ecstatic. But also, just one thing that popped up my mind. It's good that I'm reviewing those books separately because when I remember something, I can just mention it in the next video. But I want to mention this. After having read a considerable number of Horus Heresy volumes, which the majority of which are written from the point of view of the Astartes, it's fascinating to read a book written from a point of view of a human, not advanced human, not genetically engineered or not genetically perfected human, and them looking at the Astartes, because Deathwatch appears here, of course. This being the chapter that is dedicated to the Inquisition. And it is fascinating to see that people in the 41st millennium, they still see the Astartes as like demigods. Like, you are used to reading Warhammer books from the point of view of the Astartes, and you are like, yeah, they are like super duper warriors. They have their own flaws, but you empathize and sympathize with them. If the writer is good, you can get into their skin, so to speak, quote unquote, see the world through their eyes. But then you see them through the eyes of somebody ordinary, and you realize how superhuman, how übermensch really the Astartes are in the eyes of us, the normal humans. And then you think, yeah, what would the humans in the 41st millennium thought if they saw an actual Primarch? And I know there are newer novels that speak about the fact that Robert Guillemot and Lionel Johnson, I think, have awoken in the 41st millennium, but I'm not going to read them for like maybe never. I don't know. I've got 1,000 other books to read first. Absolutely do recommend you read Xenos, whether you are a newbie and want to start with Warhammer 40,000 or a seasoned Warhammer fan. This is a book that you can reread every year and never get bored of it. So let me know in the comments down below what you think. That'll be all. Thank you very much for watching, and remember, the Emperor protects.